the feeling of not being safe in their own homes. In my area of Dún Laoghaire, crime is a serious concern for my constituents, in particular house break-ins, theft and vehicles and antisocial behaviour. I suspect that many of you have heard similar views in your own canvasses. Having your home broken into is one of the most invasive and disturbing things that can happen to anyone. I know from personal experience through a family member whose house was recently burgled the feelings of disgust and violation at the invasion of your home that someone has been going through your private possessions, and the feeling of shock in the pit of your stomach that is very hard to get past. The mess that burglars make, the cost of the repairs and the replacements of items taken, and the worry about any repeat attempts on your home that may occur. I don't want to see anyone who has suffered at the hands of burglars live in fear. I would like to compliment the Minister of Justice and Equality, Frances Fitzgerald, for initiating in February 2015 a review of the criminal justice systems in response to the problem of domestic burglaries. We were not the government that closed down Templemore. We were the government that, once we had a solid economic foundation that didn't have pyrite, started investing in Garda recruitment. I welcome and am fully supportive of the Criminal Justice Burglary of Dwellings Bill 2015. As this bill will address issues relating to the bail and sentencing for repeat burglars of dwellings, in particular where a person applies for bail in a domestic burglary case, the judge can decide, based on certain circumstances and evidence, whether bail should be granted. Secondly, the bill provides that where a person is being sentenced to a period of imprisonment for domestic burglary, that the sentence must run consecutively to any sentence previously imposed for prior domestic burglary offences. I believe that any right-minded person would agree with these provisions. The bail bill also makes provisions in respect of electronic monitoring or tagging. While this is an area where significant legal and technical issues arise, it is recognised that the targeted use of electronic monitoring has the potential to be effective as a means of enhancing compliance with bail conditions in appropriate cases. With this in mind, it is intended that the proposals in the bail bill will provide that electronic monitoring may be imposed as a bail condition, if the prosecution applies to the court for this condition. This will facilitate the focused use of electronic monitoring for persons on bail, where this is requested by Gardaí to prevent repeat offending. Statistics recorded for burglary offences show that the total number of offences has been declining each year, from a high of approximately 28,000 in 2012 to a figure of approximately 26,000 in 2015. Though the decline is welcome, doesn't really make people feel safer at home because it's figures. I know that some members of the House believe that the closure of Garda stations during the lifetime of the last Dáil has had a detrimental effect on the work of the Gardaí. In my own constituency of Dún Laoghaire, we did have 2 Garda stations that were closed, but the manpower from these Garda stations was redeployed to larger stations in Dún Laoghaire where modern facilities are available. There are still 4 large Garda stations within my constituency, thankfully, namely Dún Laoghaire, Shankill, Cabinteely and Blackrock. Some of the former Garda stations have been put to new uses, such as the station in Harcourt Terrace, which is to become a new primary school, and the station in Rush, which is now a home to the Rush Musical Society in Tidy Towns. In October 2015, under the Garda Station Building and Refurbishment Programme, 60 million has been set aside for building new Garda stations and for the redevelopment, refurbishment and upgrade of existing Garda stations. In addition to this investment, a further sum of 330 million will be invested in Garda ICT infrastructure between 2016 to 2021. This will allow Gardaí access to cutting-edge technologies in the fight against crime. In particular, I welcome the deployment of Garda and community CCTV systems and the automated number plate recognition system, as I believe these will be of benefit to communities up and down the length of Ireland. I would like to speak about the Garda numbers. Like so many people, I welcome the news of the reopening of the Garda College in September 2014. Since that date, 700 trainees have started the new 2-year training programme, which leads to a Bachelor of Arts in Applied Police Studies. This was a major investment into our Garda recruitment, and I very much welcome this, because when we took over in our government, We had no money. The cupboards were bare. So the first opportunity that we as a country had money to invest back into our Gardaí, the Minister did so. The Minister for Justice and Equality stated this morning in her speech that she hopes that in the lifetime of this Dáil that the Garda numbers will grow to 15,000. In all constituencies where there are areas of higher crime, these are usually areas of social deprivation. The best way to counteract this is to support the communities in these areas by ensuring that there is opportunity for education, training and jobs, and that these are placed as high priority. I do feel that there is a common interest for all of us in this chamber, and we all want to see that people can feel safe in their own homes, in their own communities, and that they can answer the door late at nights, because many of us in this chamber know that when you did knock on the door once it was dark in the very recent elections, people were fearful to open their door. They were coming to their sitting room windows and looking out their blinds, and even at that, they still might not have opened the door. They might have opened a window and asked who it was. Nobody should feel like a prisoner in their own home. And with that in mind, Cathaoirleach, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak to the Chamber and endorse what Minister Francis Fitzgerald has been doing and will be doing over the coming years.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy